My dear friends, there's a story about a prisoner, a Jewish prisoner, who survived the German concentration camps. And the night after his liberation, he went to stay in a nearby house in a village, not far from the camp. There, he found about 30 other survivors gathered in one room to celebrate their liberation. Seeing a mirror on the wall, he went over to it. He was very anxious to see what he looked like, because after years and years, he did not see his face. But in the same mirror, he saw the reflections of some of other people as well. 30 people. There were many faces in the mirror, and the man could not tell which one belonged to him. So he had to make faces and gesture in order to be able to distinguish himself from the group. And when he did distinguish his own face, he got a terrible shock, because the person he saw in the mirror was one he had never seen before. Old, ugly, looked distressed and depressed. He was so changed that the person in the mirror did not bear any resemblance to the person he had seen years before the war. This is the story. Maybe it's a strange story, but a true one. And today, Jesus' harshest words were directed not to the sinners, but to the religious chiefs and religious people, such as the scribes, the Pharisees, the priests. Jesus had been very patient with them. He had reasoned with them many times, but to no avail. Eventually, he was forced to expose them. In the Gospel today, how did he do this? In a manner of speaking, he did it by holding a mirror in front of them, so that for the first time in their lives, they might be able to see their true image. It was an image that few of them would have recognized as their own. If they did, they would have got a terrible shock like the prisoner. The picture Jesus painted of them was not a pretty one. In fact, we are filled with anxiety when we contemplate their religious pomp and show, together with the horrible inconsistency of their lives. What were the main faults Jesus found in them? The main mistake. That is the main mistake. They did not practice what they preach. They made things impossible for ordinary people by multiplying the rules and demanding exact observance of these rules without offering the slightest help to those who found them impossible. They sought their own glory rather than the glory of God. They were full of themselves and were interested only in themselves. And the most damning things of all, they lacked charity and compassion in their dealings with others. Do we not sometimes consider ourselves better than others? Do we not lay down the law for others, not for ourselves? Do we not demand sacrifices of others which we don't demand ourselves? Do we not like to be noticed or to be admired and to take the best seat if we can get it? Are we too not lacking in charity, compassion, a sense of justice, and a spirit of service? I think the real tragedy of the scribes and the Pharisees was not the fact that they had faults and mistakes and errors, but that they could not see their fault. They were blind to their faults. Yet many of them were sincere and pious people. But what good is piety if it doesn't make us more humble, more loving, and more compassionate? I believe that piety is no substitute for goodness. Goodness should come first. So we don't have to put on an outward show or pretend to be what we are not. Be sincere. All we have to do is try to be true to what we are. But the question is, what are we? We are sons of God and daughters of God. And we believe that we are dearly loved by God. When you look at the mirror, what will you see in there? Yourself? No. The reflection of yourself, but not you. Not the true image. Why? Because if you have something on your left ear, in the mirror, it will become the right ear. It's not yourself. But thanks to the mirror, we can look at ourselves and make up and do something for our beauty. But the mirror in our soul is the best and the most important mirror. So, remember in the Gospel, Jesus said, be sincere. We offer this Mass to pray for ourselves and for this community, for little children, to be sincere, to accept what we are, what we have, and be happy. Hôm nay chúng ta có nghi thức commissioning cho mấy anh chị được chọn làm Minister of the Eucharist. Tôi mời những bạn nào sẽ nhận những cái bằng để phục vụ trong Eucharist, trong bí tích thánh thể, xin mời tiến lên.